She didn't succumb to your charm. She didn't yield to your wit. She was drawn in because you embodied quiet completeness. The kind of man who had mastered his own existence long before she entered the picture. Pay attention. This is the element most men overlook. Recall the moment you truly registered her presence. Not the banter, not the casual exchange, not the instant she lingered, observing you as if you were an old acquaintance. That wasn't chance. It stemmed from a series of understated, consistent actions you performed without fanfare. Today, I'll explain why she remains captivated by you. Not through ostentatious displays, but the subtle foundations that construct enduring bonds. 1. Quiet confidence, not boisterous ego. It's not the loudest voice that lingers in memory. It's the individual who conducts himself with such composure and authenticity that others instinctively turn. That's the assurance she detected in you. Subtle, unwavering, devoid of spectacle. You didn't enter spaces seeking validation. You arrived, poised upright, and behaved as though you inherently belonged. That's the aura that evokes profound resonance in women. See, many men mistake confidence for volume. They overspeak. They overlaugh. They perpetually strive to demonstrate worth. And ironically, the harder they push, the more transparent it becomes. She perceived you required none of that. You didn't interject to appear clever. You didn't boast of achievements. You didn't force humor to dispel quiet. You were at ease in your own skin. And that poise resonated more powerfully than any oration. She also observed your response to adversity. That's a crucible many men fail unwittingly. When outcomes faltered, you didn't unravel or assign fault. You acknowledged, adapted, and advanced. That's uncommon. Most men crumble under initial strain, seeking pity or affirmation. But you remained composed. That serene acceptance revealed something profound. You require no salvation. You salvage yourself. And that instilled faith. Women gravitate toward security, not merely physical shielding, but emotional refuge as well. She understood you wouldn't erupt in rage over setbacks. She knew you wouldn't pursue endorsement like a wayward child. Your assurance wasn't facade. It was your essence, even unobserved. The reality is, genuine confidence doesn't audition. It doesn't demand spotlight. It murmurs, yet with such potency that all attend. That's why she inevitably admired you. Not for flair. For your reliability. And reliability amid a frenzy for visibility is scarce. Assurance of that caliber allows a woman to unwind. It lowers her defenses. And as defenses fall, affection slips in unnoticed initially. That's why she was ensnared. Not by grand overtures, not by eloquent phrases, but by your lack of need to validate anything. 2. Emotional stability. A reliable haven. She didn't fall for you because you were impervious to sentiment. She fell because you mastered feeling without surrendering to its whims. That's a critical distinction. Most men equate strength with suppression, feigning indifference. But that's not fortitude. That's concealment. True fortitude entails experiencing fully anguish, apprehension, setback, yet refusing descent into turmoil. And that's what she discerned in you. She noted your restraint from fury amid difficulty. You didn't hasten to justify at every descent. You didn't withdraw or manipulate when wounded. Instead, you paused, inhaled, and replied rather than reacted. That tranquil demeanor conveyed one truth. This man won't force me to tread carefully. That's exceptional, as countless women endure partners whose temperaments fluctuate wildly. But you endured like bedrock, solid, constant, immovable. She also witnessed how you bore her emotions without buckling. When she wept, you didn't fluster. You didn't center her grief on yourself. You didn't submerge either. You remained, mute, attentive, sustaining the moment. That serenity wields immense influence. It assures her, I can rely on him without collapse. Such a man becomes her mooring. And here's the insight. Women probe this instinctively. They prod, they weep, they unleash tempests. Not to wound, but to gauge your foundation. When she realized you embraced her fragility without fear, she felt secure. Secure to soften, to confide, to cherish. Emotional stability doesn't imply perpetual calm. It means emotions don't dictate. You govern them, not vice versa. That mastery isn't detachment. It's reliability. And that's why she remains enamored, as your aura evokes sanctuary. 3. Purpose and drive. A directed existence. Here's the key. She didn't fall because her affection defined your aim. She fell because you possessed aim prior to her, and retained it thereafter. That's compelling. Many men err here. They encounter a woman and she eclipses all. Ambitions, interests, habits evaporate. Initially flattering, it soon constricts. Why? No woman desires to constitute a man's sole quest. She seeks to accompany his quest. Not embody it. You possess trajectory. You rose with objectives. Not mere rhetoric but execution. Even sans acclaim, you honored commitments to self. You didn't idle awaiting romance for significance. You forged significance independently. And witnessing that, her esteem deepened. Esteem surpasses allure. It fortifies love. She observed your resilience to obstacles, too. When adversity struck, you persisted. You recalibrated. You progressed. That subdued tenacity signaled this man won't yield to hardship. He possesses resolve. He possesses tenacity. And a woman senses assurance with a man steadfast in his course. Your purpose lent gravity to your being. You weren't adrift, expecting her to occupy voids. You were constructing, evolving. And that positioned her as entering a dynamic life, not one awaiting salvation. That's why she remains enamored. Because you didn't require completion. You beckoned her to journey alongside. 4. Respect for her boundaries. Autonomy, not dominion. Here's where most men falter. They construe love as possession. They override her refusals. They strain her tolerance. They obscure boundaries deeming tenacity proof of devotion. But it isn't. It demonstrates disrespect. You diverged. You granted liberty. You didn't induce guilt for her self-prioritization. You didn't retaliate with withdrawal when space was sought. You didn't impose for dominance. Instead, you heeded. You upheld her thresholds, not as barriers to breach, but as demarcations you were secure enough to honor. That astonished her, for it's infrequent. She recognized you weren't threatened by her autonomy. You didn't interpret boundaries as dismissal. You viewed them as integral to her identity. That conveyed one message. This man lacks insecurity. He doesn't require control for empowerment. That's alluring. Each instance you embraced her no sans bitterness, her trust amplified. She revealed more, knowing your affection centered on volition, not subjugation. And such esteem neutralizes even formidable barriers. It renders her secure enough to remain. That's why she remains enamored. 5. Subtle masculine energy, calm force. Your masculinity wasn't clamor. It wasn't about posturing, overpowering, or rivalry. It resided in your bearing, resolute, constant, unapologetic. She sensed it in your management of stress, composed when others faltered, lucid when others vociferated. That's masculine energy, not hostility, but command derived from self-mastery. You didn't need to commandeer spaces. You occupied yours, and attention followed. You didn't diminish her essence to affirm strength. You guided with serenity, not coercion. That equilibrium, potent yet tender, captivated her. It afforded her latitude to yield without vulnerability. She trusted you because your masculinity wasn't theater. It was inherent. And that subdued potency stirred profound sentiment. A man who stands firm without oppressing is one women cherish retaining. 6. Consistency. Small promises kept. This determines love's flourishing or demise. Consistency. And that's what you provided. Not sporadic extravagance, not hollow vows, but routine deeds aligning with your core. You didn't vanish amid challenges. You didn't oscillate between fervor and detachment per whim. You appeared reliably, even inconveniently. That cultivated beyond thrill. It cultivated faith. She felt secure knowing your predictability stemmed from dependability, not monotony. Amid men who intensify briefly then evaporate, you distinguished yourself. That's why she remains enamored. Because consistency manifests love purest. 7. Emotional honesty. Real, not performative. Ultimately, she fell because you were authentic, not cruelly blunt, not artificially saccharine, authentic. You voiced truth sans manipulation. You owned errors. You didn't exaggerate to enchant. You didn't conceal sentiments to safeguard ego. You were genuine. And here's the essence. Genuineness is scarce. Most enact roles. They differ publicly and privately. But you remained uniform. That assured her she loved the man, not the persona. Honesty fosters bond. It enables her to feel truly perceived. Not idealized, not dominated, but as herself. And when a woman feels wholly seen and wholly secure, she clings tightly. That's why she remains enamored. At the end of it all, she didn't fall for your appearance, your rhetoric, or your offerings. She fell for the man you elected to embody daily. A man rooted in quiet confidence, bearing emotional stability, pursuing purpose, honoring her boundaries, exuding calm masculine energy, delivering consistency, and articulating honest truth. Love isn't forged in singular grandeur. It's forged in daily existence. When unobserved, when unapplauded, that's why she remains enamored, because you're not acting. You're existing. So heed this. If you're pursuing validation, if you're pleading for notice, if you're contorting to be selected, you'll forfeit yourself. But when you stand as a man aware of his value, who guides himself before others, love arrives softly and endures. If this message resonated, let me know in the comments which of these 7 parts you connect with most right now. Confidence, emotional balance, or consistency. Share your story because it might help another man listening today. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next message. Someone out there needs this reminder, and maybe you're the one who can send it their way. Stay steady, stay real, and I'll see you in the next.